Want to read a couple of things. One from Doyle in Saskatoon at Wendell Clark's. He says, good morning from Wendell Clark's. He says, we have exciting news coming soon. What do you think that could be?
I know. I'm really excited. I don't know what it's going to be.
That you're opening? Please. Or that the NHL's making Saskatoon a quarantine city? By the way, Jason May checks in. He says, listening in North Alabama. A much-needed sports break. Thank you, Jason. If you've just checked in, let me update the poll results, by the way. And I might need a police escort to get out of here. But here's my poll question that I came up with today. Why it took so long for me to do it, I'm not sure. But it is for Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center. Should the CFL merge with the XFL? Whoa, 87% of respondents saying no, 8% saying yes, 5% saying they're not sure. Some of the responses from people, from Mason Lakustiak is, what kind of question is this? From K-Dog. Remember K-Dog?
Yep.
The guy who originally suggested Saskatoon be a bubble city? He says, F no. No way in hell. Is that fudge no? From Stevie Juke Joint on Twitter, hard no. Clearly, he's been binge watching Letterkenny.
That's a hard no.
So, hey, if the CFL is fine, if they're clear sailing, they can pay all their bills and the stadiums are full, hey, then great. But if this league is in some trouble, which I believe that it is, this might be something you might want to investigate. Business keeping. And by the way, you are all welcome to chime in on the Prairie Mobile text line, the Facebook wall, whatever. It's just the two of us up until the top of the hour. Things got real fun yesterday when we brought in the audience participation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did.
And if we'd had this next feature that we're about to announce, if we'd had it yesterday, we could have named him who it was. RoxDar Supply Chains. And I want to introduce you folks to one of our fine sponsors here. RoxDar Supply Chains. It sounds like Rockstar. It's not. It's a company out of Saskatoon, Roxanne and Darnell, a husband and wife. RoxDar. Put them together.
Kind of like Brangelina.
Right. Brangelina, yeah. Sounds like Rockstar. It's not. They're a company, because we've been going around, I think we've talked to every one of our sponsors now in the last couple of weeks, just to check on how they're doing. RoxDar Supply Chains, busier than ever. And that's good. Some of our businesses can't say that. Some are just floating. You know, everybody's been hit in different ways. But Rockstar, they're helping out. I mean, when you got the Prime Minister, you've got the Commissioner of the CFL congratulating and thanking the supply chains during this time. What does that tell you? I didn't even know what the hell a supply chain was until 3 weeks ago. This is what they do. So we've been talking about this for a while. We're going to do a Rockstar of the day. Every day. And you folks are going to vote on it in the last segment. It'll hold up for 24 hours till we come back for the next day.
Yeah.
The Rockstar of the day. And I got to tell you right now, Mark Recchi is in the early running for being the Rockstar Supply Chain's Rockstar Guest of the Day. Or the Rockstar of the Day. Doesn't need to be a guest. Because yesterday, the Rockstar of the day would have been Monty in Saskatoon.
Yeah.
You want to explain why?
Hands down. Well, if you've been watching this show and listening to the show for a while, you know that Monty's a P1 and a P1 Priority 1 viewer or listener. And he's taken his fair share of abuse.
Yeah. All in fun.
All in fun.
All in fun.
But he's sit there and taking it. You know, he just wants some mug. You can buy it. It's in the store. Or, you know, listen, Monty, how many times has he been told, we'll do the talking, you do the watching? Right? Countless times he's taken it, politely apologized. I'm sorry, Rod. I'm sorry. Countless times. So yesterday it was Brady's turn because
he pulled an April Fool's joke and it wasn't funny.
At the beginning of the day, Rod said, we're not doing April Fools. It's not the right time. It's insensitive, the whole thing going on. And he pulls one, a believable one that got us all. We're ringing the bell, breaking news. It was actually pretty good.
The Jadeveon Clown he signed with the Titans. It was a joke. Not funny, Brady.
So, Rods, I don't know. Thinking about suspending him from the comments for a week. We're going to beat him, you know, going to, you know, verbally. And then all of a sudden, Monty chimes in, please do it.
Please do it.
Please do it.
Please abuse him.
He wants somebody else to take the heat for a change. And it was the funniest.
So, it will be the Rockstar of the day for Rockstar Supply Chain. And we've got a lot of comments coming in Ryan Marushak from Saskatoon says, Rockstar is unreal, people. Doyle at Wendell Clark says, love Rockstar. So they are upping their game amid the coronavirus pandemic. They have, where's that bottle of, they partnered with, you don't need to bring it. The hand sanitizer, they've been supplying that all over the province. That's from Rockstar Supply Chains. We're going to do the Rockstar of the day.
Yep.
And so far, it is Mark Recchi. Gregory Lee writing in, he says, have you guys watched Money Heist on Netflix yet? No, and I got to be honest, we got a nice little thing going in our house. Make supper, clean up, start watching Netflix. So for the last little while, it's been Tiger King, which I'm seriously considering starting again. And watching it again.
Yep.
I'm not joking. And for those of you people that don't even think that Joe Exotic could even be real or that people like that exist, I'm going to say this again. Go to any coffee shop in rural Saskatchewan. Just walk in the front door, throw a stone. You'll hit 3 of them. Anyone.
Yeah.
Those people exist. Maybe that's why I liked it so much.
I know.
No, not people that are conspiring to kill other people. But I'm just saying mullets, Wrangler jeans, wildlife.
Yep.
Conspiring to kill somebody, I understand, is frowned upon. Anyways, Tiger King is done. So we're watching Mad Men. We're watching Ozark. Watching Queen of the South. We have a nice little lineup going. So we're not going to binge watch on one and get rid of it. And then what?
Yeah.
And then we just started watching one last night. It's something along the lines of how to uncover a drug scandal. Something like that.
Okay.
It was kind of... Do you know that one, Clark? No, I said it. He's nodding. It came up as something you might watch, you might like. We got about 20 minutes into it, and I said to Mrs. P, I said, this is a little dry. Are you enjoying this? She goes, no, it's good. So we watched the end of that, so we started that. Money Heist is on my list.
Yeah, mine
but
too.
Haven't got there yet.
Yeah, that's on my list too.
What's on your watch list?
Ozarks. We're watching. I'm watching Scandal, or not Scandal. Watch Scandal already. Succession. I was telling you about that yesterday. Succession. Watching that on Crave for the 8th time. I'm finishing Entourage again. I'm almost through the last season of that. Not all in this quarantine period, by the way. But the morning show, Jennifer Aniston's show on Amazon Prime. I'm watching that as well. And finished Jack Ryan on Amazon too. The one with John Krasinski. It's really, really good. Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan.
Just seems like we would never run out of things to watch on Netflix. Jeff Kozak's watching, writes in. He says, yesterday's show was so funny. Glad I'm watching today. Jeff, I'm glad you're watching too. JR in Cranbrook says Tiger King is animal abuse. I don't know about that. I didn't see any animals being abused in the show, did you? I wouldn't think they would be able to put it on television if they were. I'll tell you what, out of the 7 episodes of Tiger King, the funniest thing that makes me laugh the most is when people say to Joe Exotic, the guy that runs this animal park, oh, if you don't abuse animals, why do you have a gun on your hip? He looks at him, people.
I like when he's getting...
I laugh every time.
I like when he's getting dragged around by the tiger. Because he's trying
to shoot you right between the F and I's.
And all that... Is it Carol, right?
Yeah, Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. She's like, well, I mean, if you wanted a tiger to eat you, I mean, you'd put something, like sardine oil on your shoes. It's oddly specific, Carol.
I know.
And you didn't feed your husband to the tiger, right?
To the Prairie Mobile text line from the 527 from Ty. He says in all caps, this is my favorite show ever. The pot has officially been stirred. He's talking about this specific show, I guess, with regards to the XFL and the CFL merging. Like, why are people so defensive? I think let's sit down and have a group think, as they call it, as you read in the entrepreneurial magazines. A group think. We're all going to play CFL rules. We're going to play for the Grey Cup. Going to have the Canadian field dimensions if possible. But let me just remind you of something. They don't have to be. You young kids don't remember in the 80s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, Boston Garden was not of regulation size. There was a lot of NHL rinks that weren't regulation size. They weren't. WHL, Portland, Had a neutral zone the size of a matchbox. Nobody cared. You just knew going in there, you had to prepare for it. It's called home ice advantage. Where do you think the term came from?
Yeah. That's my biggest one of my biggest pet peeves in hockey now. They show like an empty, Air Canada Center in Toronto. I'm like, what is this? The seats are yellow. I'm like, this sucks. It's not
serious.
It's not
character.
There's no character in there. It's a brand new building. It looks the same.
Oh, the new rinks.
Yeah, it looks the same as
rinks.
Any other rink I've been into. Like the old rink in Estevan. I loved it. The black and gold seats that were just, it was suffocating how tiny that thing was. And you were scared to go in there.
And by the way, sorry to tell you, but the field that they're playing on in Toronto right now at BMO is not regulation. One end zone is turf. The rest of the field's grass. It's too short. So, I mean, I think people need to kind of come off their high horse with regards to being CFL fans and supporters and realize if this is what is best for the long-term survival and stability of the CFL, I think a merger with the XFL is the best thing. Devin writing in on the Prairie Mobile text line, which, by the way, is your authorized SaskTel mobility dealer. Devin says, the XFL is a niche league to fill the spring sports void. Vince has studied every aspect why spring leagues fold. It is always rapid expansion and disjointed, unvetted owners and a lack of cash flow. Vince is 74 years old and has always been the man and no partners. He has the cash and will build his brand for love of football, family entertainment thing, and he's giving guys a chance to move on and move up. The CFL is its own summer-fall league. The USA CFL expansion was simply for cash flow infusion to save the CFL. I can't read the whole thing, but I appreciate the thoughts on that. I mean, if you vote no, I'd like to know why no. Is it because we're Canadian and screw them? Because that seems to be the sense that I'm getting. You got to play our rules. Nobody's saying you can't play our rules. Nobody's saying you can't call it the Canadian Football League. As a matter of fact, a lot of Americans think the CFL is really cool. Really cool.
Yep.
They know that it's a better game the way it's designed. 3 downs to get 10 yards.
It's exciting.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Metal Shingle guy writes in and he says, that would be a solid league. CFL would need to scrap the national quota and just play the best player, Canadian or not. I'm a yes. Baltimore played their best, no limitations, in 1995. That's from Metal Shingle guy. There's a lot to be said for the fact that American law will not allow you to discriminate against Americans and have to have X amount of Canadians on the team. Please tell me why we're allowed to do it in Canada.
Right.
It's kind of discriminatory, is it not?
Slightly. I can see it.
Well, as they say, the golden rule. What do I say it all the time? He who owns the gold
makes the rules.
Makes the rules. In this case, it would be Paul. Brady writing in from Saskatoon. Prairie Mobile text line. I don't think the XFL should ever merge with the CFL. Leave our game the Canadian game. Unless it is absolutely necessary to keep our league afloat. Exact. That's what I'm saying. It's not a front burner item, but if this league is teetering on dying, particularly if there's no season in 2020, they might have to. Mm-hmm. That's why they went into the States in the 90s in the first place. That's why they did it.
Yep.
How would this be any different?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, where does the CFL fit in terms of Canadian culture and the importance and the fabric of being Canadian? Does the government play a role in this, bailing out the CFL? I mean, it's not the big financial machine that like the stock market is or banks are in the States when they get bailed out in the financial crisis. But maybe there's a role that the government will play in this. And if not, they might have to look at alternate things. They've done it in the past with the U.S. expansion. Why not try it again? It worked.
By the way, Brady writing in and he says, also, has my suspension been lifted? Brady, we had a meeting. We had a hearing yesterday. You weren't invited.
Yeah.
After the show, and we've decided that it was your first offense. So Right. Slap on the wrist,
And
as
that's-
Clark says. Don't let it happen again.
You know, when you don't get invited to the hearing, it's not going to be a long suspension. So that's a good thing. If you would have gotten a call, then you're in for a minimum 6 games, right? Or whatever it is. So 6
when
days.
you get summoned to the offices here, then you need to worry. Clark has posed the same poll question to our Facebook viewers, and 84% of you saying never, never merge with the XFL. 16% of you saying yes. I don't know, something's happening because I don't see the attendance going up in the CFL. They're capping everything. That does not scream growth to me. Do you see rampant growth in the CFL? Because I don't.
Not at the moment. No.
Pandemic aside.
Yeah. No.
Everything leading up to March 1st. But I laughed about this. A month ago, by the way, the biggest scandal in the CFL was potentially eliminating the Rouge.
Right.
That's what had people worked up.
I know. No, I don't see it, but I do see the groundwork for growth being laid right now by Randy Ambrosie. And I'm a believer in the CFL 2.0. I like it. I don't see, because we're also worried about short-term results, right? And we got to see the results now. Got to take care of our own backyard because our teams are struggling financially. Take care of that. Don't worry about these guys. We'll worry about them later. Well, it's a long process to build an international brand. So you need to start laying the framework and the foundation now and realize that you're not going to see any benefit from that for maybe a dozen years. Maybe 10 years, a decade. But I see the groundwork being laid, and eventually, once it rolls, the growth will happen quickly when you start to see it take off. One television deal, right? One clothing deal, and all of a sudden, the brand will grow. So I see some of the framework, but in terms of the game, capping coaches, the salary's not growing a whole lot. That doesn't inspire me a whole lot.
No. I know that you don't want us to break, but we have to for the top of the hour. We'll continue this all next hour. We're getting a lot of audience participation, which we love. And we got Ken Reed of Rogers Sportsnet and Connor Bedard, the next Connor, lined up. I want to read this from Jeff Hayes, our friend in Saskatoon. He says, if the government got involved, Trump would find a way to say it was his idea, and then it would be the best idea ever. Trump might get involved in this pro football thing. He was an owner in the United States Football League, by the way, and he did try to buy the Buffalo Bills. So, never say never. To quote the great Gary Echeverry,
wouldn't be called an extra point.
Forever's a long time.
Forever's a long time. It wouldn't be called an extra point. It'd be called a Trump.
Hour 2 coming up. It is change the name of the Rouge to the Trump.
There you go.
It's the Rod Pedersen Show on Facebook Live. Coming this spring to Game Plus TV Network, and listen live at rodpedersen.com.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of the Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.